Presented by Listen Headlines. Latest financial news from trusted sources. Updating daily noontime New York City.
The Library of Economics and Liberty.
November 14th, 11:05 America, New York, Newspeak and Doubleplusgood Duckspeakers. Language has enormous benefits. It dramatically reduces the transaction costs in exchange, taken both in the narrow sense of trade and in the larger sense of interindividual interaction.
Wall Street Journal U.S. Business.
November 14th, 10:58 America, New York, U.S. sanctions target Russian military suppliers, alleged money launderers. The Biden administration said targeting a Russian company's supply network would help deny Moscow technology it needs for the Ukraine war.
New York Times Business.
November 14th, 10:53 America, New York. Amazon is said to plan to lay off approximately 10,000 employees. The job cuts of approximately 10,000, which would start as soon as this week, would focus on the company's devices organization, retail division and human resources. Andy Jassy, the Amazon chief executive, in 2019.
New York Times Business.
November 14th, 10:17 America, New York, U.S. and China restart climate talks. Discussions about combating climate change between the world's two largest economies and two biggest emitters of greenhouse gases had been frozen since August. President Xi Jinping and President Biden, leaders of the two biggest sources of fossil fuel emissions, met for 2 hours on Monday ahead of the Group of 20 summit in Bali, Indonesia. Daily FX Market News.
November 14th, 10 o'clock America, New York, EUR/USD tests key resistance at 1.0350. Can bulls further the move? EUR/USD has jumped up to a key level of 1.0350 after a strong bullish response following last week's CPI data. But, can EUR/USD bulls continue the move?
The Library of Economics and Liberty.
November 14th, 9:51 America, New York, an economics Nobel for and by central bankers. Now that the 30 days are up, I'm posting my whole WSJ op-ed on the latest winners of the Nobel Prize in Economics, written the morning the prize was announced.
New York Times Business.
November 14th, 9:49 America, New York, U.S. and China restart climate talks. Discussions about combating climate change between the world's two largest economies and two biggest emitters of greenhouse gases had been frozen since August. President Xi Jinping and President Biden, leaders of the two biggest sources of fossil fuel emissions, met for 2 hours on Monday ahead of the Group of 20 summit in Bali, Indonesia.
Wall Street Journal U.S. Business.
November 14th, 9 o'clock America, New York, FTX collapse sets back crypto agenda in Washington. The company had been pushing lawmakers for a bill widely considered friendly to the crypto industry.
The Library of Economics and Liberty.
November 14th, 8:45 America, New York, gender, race, and the economy, social constructs all. Over the past few years, I have noticed a discourse on the left that highlights the socially constructed nature of markets. These commentators argue that markets are mere social conventions and are therefore unreal and easily malleable.
BBC News Business.
November 14th, 8:42 America, New York, London loses position as top European stock market. The UK's stock marketed listed companies have lost so much value that France is now number one.
BBC News Business. November 14th, 8:38 America, New York. What do we know will be in the autumn statement? Jeremy Hunt is expected to dismantle his predecessor Kwasi Kwarteng plans announced 2 months ago.
Daily FX Market News.
November 14th, 7:45 America, New York, the New York session, Forex trading tips. When the U.S. session overlaps with the London session, it is considered the most liquid period of the day.
Global economy.
November 14th, 7:31 America, New York, business and trade frictions with partners, as usual in Washington. Joe Biden's brand of trade policy doesn't have much to do with Congress.
Daily FX Market News.
November 14th, 7:30 America, New York, gold price forecast. ZAO, USD nearing oversold territory as yields gap up. Gold's recent bullish advance appears under threat as the RSI briefly entered oversold territory. Contractionary policy likely to cap longer-term ZAO, USD price action.
Wall Street Journal U.S. Business.
November 14th, 7:20 America, New York. Biden, Xi meet as countries move toward reopening communication. President Biden and Chinese leader Xi Jinping began a closely watched meeting that officials on both sides said was intended to repair ruptured lines of communication between the two powers.
Global economy.
November 14. 6 o'clock America, New York. Regulator demands more details of inflation impact on U.S. companies. SEC concerned that some financial reports gloss over effect of rising prices on profits and liquidity.
Digital finance.
November 14. 5:45 America, New York. HSBC goes digital to bring advice to private banking. HSBC wants Prism, its BlackRock-enabled platform, to move Asian private banking beyond transactions. The post HSBC goes digital to bring advice to private banking appeared first on Digital Finance.
BBC News Business.
November 14. 5:32 America, New York. Rishi Sunak. We'll deliver public finances markets expect. The PM says this week's autumn budget would put our public finances on a sustainable trajectory.
Marginal revolution.
November 14. 4:42 America, New York. Edible Economics. The author is Ha Jun Chong, and the subtitle is A Hungry Economist Explains the World. This is an economics of food book with a Korean emphasis, and arguing in favor of protectionism and industrial policy, in line with the author's earlier works. Here is one excerpt.
Global economy.
November 14. 1:28 America, New York. Capextravaganza. Don't underestimate the corporate investment wave.
Marginal revolution. November 14. 029 America, New York. How to process the FTX news, a test. Here is one Mr. comment that illustrates my point. How noble, stealing people's life savings to increase African birth rates, navel gaze about AI risk, make cows happier, and all the other nonsense.